Hey guys, it's Jordan Demi, and we are here with the one and only Greta Kline from Frankie Cosmos. How's it going, Greta?
It's great. Yeah, how are you guys doing?
We're good. We're good. I already complimented you on your bold wall color. Um, are you are you a are oh sunflowers too? Are you like an interior design decorating person? Or are you just more like whatever's cool?
I'm really bad at that kind of thing actually, but I was raised in a very colorful apartment and I have a friend that is a interior design person who's very helpful with that kind of thing. Yeah.
Nice, nice, nice. Um, so thank you for being on the show. You have the new album coming out June 27th. First of all, the one thing that struck me is I saw that there's like 17 tracks on this thing. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah.
Wow. And are these some of these shorter interlude type things, or is it all like full songs? That's a big album for these days.
Yeah, I mean they're all full songs, but I tend to have really short songs or like,
Mhm.
I don't like really listening even to a song that's much longer than 3 minutes. So to me, 17 songs is like a pretty standard album for Frankie Cosmos.
Sure, sure, sure.
Did they all
Uh,
come in what period of time were you writing the tracks? Were there over the span of a few years or a few months or
Yeah, I would say like most of them are from the last couple years, but there's one from 2014 in there.
oh wow, we love
Yeah.
those. We love
We always like to go back a little bit and see like, give new life to a demo that got buried, that never got made.
Is that something you do often? Is sort of like look back at old recordings and old things and see if they're still usable today?
Yeah, totally. I think what I usually do is like I sit on a bunch of demos and like hundreds of demos, and then I'll kind of like when it's time to make a record, try and narrow it down to like 60 that interest me
Oh wow.
still or that feel the most exciting, and then send that to my bandmates and they'll be like, what about this one? Or we'll sort of pick them out together. And yeah, someone, if not me, someone usually is pushing for like one really weird old one that never got made. So there's pretty much
Nice.
one on every record. I would say like one that feels like it's out of place or something in terms of like the timeline of writing the album.
And I was watching the video for Vanity earlier, and it's very DIY. Like a lot of just camcorder footage of you and your friends and your bandmates and stuff. And that's one thing that you've done throughout your whole career is you kept it small and intimate. You never done like full orchestra. We haven't had the full orchestra Frankie Cosmos experience yet.
I guess yeah, that video really does. I feel like the video and the recording process are pretty similar in terms of like with this record particularly because it's like we recorded it just ourselves with nobody except for the band was there. Like we're engineering it ourselves and producing it, and the video is us filming ourselves. I edited it. There's no external anybody. So I think I always like to keep the team really small. Like I manage the band. I
Wow.
tour manage. Like we all drive ourselves. Like we're just like we like to keep it really tight, and I like to be in communication with like everybody that we work with. And you know yeah, I don't know, I just think if we were to make an orchestral album, that would require like to me, I'm always thinking about like taking the album on tour, so it's like how are we going to play this live. So I think there's just I feel like this very tight connection between recordings and live performance where it's like all my early records were just like the the live show. You hit record on basically the live show and then
Mm.
in the last couple albums I've like let myself be like we're going to have like five guitars or we're going to have like a bunch of stuff that, and now we're kind of like having to backtrack and learn how to like play this record live because to me it is like it's almost like we would need like a additional bandmates and stuff to make it work. We're like, how do we get like someone from the audience to come like play shaker on this part. Like,
Yeah, you're trying to use everything you
yeah.
have to like make
So,
the sound. Yeah,
exactly. So
yeah.
I wouldn't want to to bring in an orchestra just because it would be like, well, then I have to bring them on tour, and there goes the profit.
Well, I appreciate you taking that into account because it is frustrating when you do a show and they have, half the songs. They're like, usually we have trumpets on this, but, and they got to use like a synthesizer trumpet or something. So, yeah,
Yeah,
totally, totally get that. But the reason we really wanted to have you on is because we love having New York people on, New York indie people. Demi's from the Bronx. That's how we know each other is from that thing. Um, so, uh, what is your sense of? I know things have changed since COVID, but how is the vibe, changed in the last 10 years or so since you've really been active in terms of like the New York music scene and how it works?
totally. Yeah, I'm curious, like what Demi has to say about it too, because it's definitely
Yeah,
changed.
I was actually super excited. I mean, you're New York royalty, obviously. Like you were there through the DIY scene, kind of like its height, where bands were like thriving and Shea Stadium. So I was so excited to talk to you about that era.
R.I.P. Shea Stadium.
I know
Yeah.
there were so many special DIY spots like when I was a kid, and
Mhm.
um, you know, I definitely think there is still like a DIY scene happening. I'm just like less, involved in it or less like aware of it.
You're too
But
famous, Greta.
hey, I still
Mm.
play DIY shows. I'll just, do it like with a different band or a different band name or whatever, but
Right.
um, or play solo or something. But
But
I'm
it isn't the same, I would say, like as like I don't know, like 10 years ago. It's just not. Like at 10 years
totally,
ago you go to a show, like a whether it was one of your shows or Porches or anything Shea Stadium, right? Everyone was there. Everyone and their mother was there. You could not bump into someone. Now I just feel like there's so many little pockets. Maybe it's like noise music or like I don't know, whatever's left of the hardcore kind of moment like scene or it's not the same as it was. So like
yeah,
how was it like seeing that kind of transform over time?
yeah. I mean, I don't want to like point any fingers, at why
Mhm.
it doesn't exist the way it did. I
Blame
think
somebody, Greta.
no,
Mhm.
I mean it's weird. Like I remember, when I was a teenager, there was like did you ever like know about show paper? Like
No.
there was like this physical like sort of newsprint newspaper thing that would come out, and they would put like all the all ages DIY shows for the
Oh, wow.
2 week period, and it was, and I like interned for them, and did distribution and stuff, and we would put on fundraiser shows to fund it. It was like this totally like amazing community resource where it was just like, as a teenager looking for only shows that like I could get into because they were not at bars basically, and it would
Mhm.
just list all the things that like only things that I could go to, which was really amazing for like me and my peers. And then those venues that were, not bars, it has to do with legality. It has to do with like being able to run a space that can make be sustainable and not be having to rely on like legal alcohol sales to
Mhm.
fund it. So I think that was like a huge part of why all those spaces, Death by Audio and Shea Stadium and Silent
Remember
Barn.
Aviv?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my god. Wow. The
Yeah,
most
there were
like,
so many
incredible
great
shows, like $5 a kid. Like best
totally,
time ever.
totally.
You know what I mean?
It's just those kinds of places are like super sustained by like the community members. It's totally like I realize now as I get older, I'm like, oh my God, like those were adults that were like donating their time to run these spaces. And like I
Mhm.
recently played at do you remember Living Gallery?
Yeah,
Yeah,
actually.
it's still around. It's
Yeah.
exactly
Yeah.
the same. I hadn't been there in like 12 years, and it's like just a room in Bushwick. Like it's a storefront, they give you a key and you let yourself in and you run the show yourself. There's nobody in charge. And I was suddenly like the oldest. I went from being like the youngest person at shows to like I was the oldest person there, and all the youngsters playing the show were like asking me like, so where are the microphones? And I was like, I don't know, I don't work here. Like I'm
Mhm.
we're just all having to, it's just, yeah, DIY is just such a funny, it's just whoever takes charge becomes in charge. And so I'm realizing that's the role I have to step into now that I'm the grown up in the room.
Yeah.
Um, but Yeah, I do feel like there was a significant moment, like 2014 or 15, like when
Wow.
I first played at Baby's All Right, and it was like, this is bougie, like this is like a like,
Mm.
fancy venue that we're playing at, and then suddenly it was like that's where the shows that would have been like DIY shows started happening there,
Mhm.
and it just things just changed a little bit.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. I miss cake shop's another one that's kind of in that category. Yeah.
I remember when
Um,
Cake Shop stopped having all ages shows because they got like in trouble. They used to do an early show that was all ages. When I
oh,
was a teenager, I would be, I was allowed to go there. And then when I was like probably 18 or something, they were like, they got in trouble for like whatever
Mhm.
alcohol sales or something.
you guys have never came cross paths, you and Demi?
I don't
I don't think so.
know.
I guess not. Okay. Well, Demi's definitely more on like the harder, like punk side of things a lot of times. So maybe that's something different.
Well,
But
you were inspired by the punk scene though, as well, right?
I
That's
was,
from
yeah, I mean,
recent.
I would say that DIY and punk are
Yeah.
entwined.
Amazing.
I'm sure that we've probably been in the same room plenty of times.
can I ask some? I want to ask some music nerd stuff. As I've said on this show, I'm not a musician, but I love equipment and recording processes and stuff like that. And I think the way you do your vocal tracks is really cool because it sounds polished, but also like you did it in. It sounds like it's also done in 10 minutes, but also really polished at the same time. And sometimes you can hear like multiple parts going on top of each other, and sometimes it sounds like a single track. So obviously you're not double tracking all the time, but it's like you blend it so well. You blend it so well. So
Thank you.
how do you track your vocals and get that kind of layering that you
What's
want?
the secret sauce?
Well,
Mm,
honestly, I do double track like almost everything. And I'm just a really, really accurate doubler. Like, I like to double like exactly where you can barely tell that it's two. And then if those moments that you're talking about where I'm like doing something different, like those are all so specific. And I'm often like playing myself like the demo like piece by piece to get it exactly right and be like, and then it goes a little bit different in this one line, like
yeah.
it's double but then it disconnects and then it comes back, like it's so like I get really compulsive about doing it exactly how I wanted it. um but yeah, I love double track. And I don't know how, else, how I mean I'm
No, no, you
yeah,
you
I
answered it.
do work pretty fast, like I do just like blast out vocal takes.
You don't like worry about, oh, I need to like do 70 takes to get it perfect, like yeah. And that's I think part
Yeah,
of used to not you don't have like big studio budgets to just sit there and record. Now do you record some things where you like bedroom and home recording versus professional studio is
great question. I was gonna say is this record, there was I noticed that a lot of the melodies that I had given myself to sing were kind of actually harder for me than I was expecting. So I did like probably take longer to do some of the vocals. Um, yeah, I don't. I just like that was sort of a new feeling for me. But I like to call myself one tank Frake. That's
one
sort of
take
like
Frank,
one
yeah.
one take Frank, but it's one tank Frake. I don't know
Yeah.
why, but that's I like to do it in one take. But this was yeah, it just depends on uh yeah, I don't know, it just depends on how I'm feeling. Sometimes I could go all day and then I need to just step away. But yeah, with home recording, I don't really release a ton of home recordings anymore. Like sometimes I'll if friends are putting out like a compilation or if there's something for like a fundraiser or whatever, I'll and I have a demo, I'll put it out, but I'm mostly just releasing stuff that's professionally recorded. And then this record we decided to record in a home, not in a studio. And so it's kind of both. But it's like Katie, my bandmate, is an engineer. She's a recording engineer. Like she works in a studio as her job. So it was kind of like riding the line between home recording and studio recording.
It was recorded professionally in a home.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what's professional?
Yeah.
Yeah, true,
I think
true.
the beauty about like just like I don't know, the lots of rock subgenres is that you can have a lot of it is made with a Scarlet. You know what I mean? And no one knows. And sometimes those are the better takes because you know what I mean?
Totally. Well, I think
Who needs
that's
the Apollo twin, right?
yeah, yeah. I think a lot of the time, and maybe this is too cynical or something, but I think a lot of the time recordings that I make at home that I call demos,
Mhm.
if I were a man, would be considered professional studio recordings and
Mhm.
re-released by a label.
Mhm.
But because I'm me, I and the way I talk about them, and I'm like, this is a demo, and then we're gonna record it better. Don't worry. Like it's like if I had a different kind of like level of confidence in myself as an engineer, I would be like, yeah, I'm a recording engineer and I produce my own stuff, and here's my album, and I would be
Mhm.
sending it to the label like that. But instead, it's like, here's my demos, and we're gonna do a better job. Like, I, I think it has to do with just like um, the way that I was, the way that I've been raised in society to think about myself as a technical person. Um, but yeah, plenty of home recordings are considered professional recordings by the rest of the world. They're just usually uh, not made by women.
Mm.
I agree.
Yeah, that's something I can speak. Demi can speak. Demi actually worked at a recording studio for a while, like as kind of like an engineering apprentice, so she can go off more on that. But yeah, that's something
Yeah,
that's a world that I'm not familiar with.
it's a rarity for women to work in the technical side of music. I think.
Yeah, like have either of you had many at all male engineers when you've been recording? Like, I mean, female engineers, like a woman at the board. Like, is that pretty rare, or is it more? It's harder to find a female producer.
I think it's
But
both. I think it's something like 3 or 4% of sound engineers are women or something like that. Like it's
yeah,
really rare. This record is the first time that I've, had both, and she's my bandmate. And in live touring, I think you see it more that there's non men working the board, but it's definitely uh, it's an expanding part of the sound world. What do you think, Demi?
Well,
mm,
I mean, I don't know. I thought about this the other day. It's like it's all about how we're conditioned, like as in society. Is like if you're growing up and you're told you can be a CEO, you can be a doctor, you can own a business, or you know what I'm saying, something very like powerful, which is what all men are told that they can be from very young. You're gonna go for those types of things, and you're gonna gravitate towards that. But if you're not told that, then it's harder. It's almost like harder to go in that direction if that's something you're interested in
Yeah,
because it's like you feel that resistance. So,
totally. I mean,
but
I think the word is usually sound guy. We're like,
literally,
oh, who's the sound man tonight? Like it's literally like it's like fireman or something,
yeah. And it's good that we speak out on it because, maybe these conversations will spark the confidence in the younger generations to feel like, wait, they're kind of right. Like maybe I should go and study this and not be afraid to sign up for something.
Totally, totally.
so I want to do the little bit of an origin story. When you were coming up, when you were in your teens, early 20s, college era, did you ever have aspirations to be more of like a pop performer, or was it always just like make the music that you wanted to make? Like, where did you see yourself versus kind of how you ended up?
Yeah, I never saw myself being a pop performer. I think if anything, I thought it was funny to make something that was like bordering that because I made this EP that was sort of like called Fit Me In, that was like this concept of like imagine trying to fit me into like a pop like it was just like kind of comical to me because I'm so not that. And it was before that was before indie music was like before like indie rock had that kind of like crossover sound. I think now a lot of I was just saying like if like Velvet Underground like was making stuff right now,
Oh
like they would probably use electronic drums. Like just the
Mm,
culture of like this of like, you know, like weird experimental bands and stuff, it's just different now with technology. So I think I was kind of interested in that, but I never would have thought of myself making pop music. Um, and if anything, I was sort of like, in that band that you mentioned before that became sort of poppy, and I was like, all right, I'm out of here kind of
Mm.
thing. It's like not my interest really. I like pop music as a consumer, but it's not the kind I tend to like, to me music's more of like this expression of something like really like natural and I don't know, just like emotional for me. So trying to fit it into a something marketable is
Mhm.
very beyond me. It's like I'll make the music and we'll leave the marketing up to the experts.
That being said, you have a. I know it's a really old song, but "Fool" has gone gold, I guess technically now.
Thank you. And say
Yes,
that.
Mhm.
yes, gold record. I think when you say gold record, is you got to say it like you're like a smooth talking person from the '70s. Like, all right, kid, you got a gold record. Like I should have like a
Told you gone
cigar and
gold.
like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Wow.
you've got gold. Yeah. Did you actually get a plaque or not?
I want one. I haven't gotten one. The label that put it out was looking into it. I think you have to kind of like apply with the RCAA or whatever, like, and get
Right.
one. But I think I would love to like. You have to buy the gold record. Like you have to buy
That's
the
what I
plaque.
thought. Yeah, that's why I
Oh,
asked
I
if you
think it's
had
like
one. Yeah.
$250 or something, and I was like, I'm gonna buy it for like everyone that worked on the record, like my old
Mhm.
bandmate and like the
Yeah.
guy that recorded it. Like that's so cool. But I haven't actually. Nobody's. You're the first people to publicly acknowledge that I've gone gold because I was waiting
Oh,
to see if I was gonna get that plaque, and then maybe I was gonna say something about it. But um, yeah, it's a fucking huge deal. It's amazing.
mhm.
Never
And I'm
ever would
glad
have imagined that in my life.
that you're embracing it because that's kind of the stereotype of like indie people is like, it doesn't matter, those doesn't matter. But I think it symbolizes that many people have heard the song, and
Mhm.
then when they've heard that song, they've heard the songs, you know, elsewhere on your catalog. So
Yeah,
I think it's an awesome thing.
it's a weird thing because when I started playing in bands and putting out music, first of all, I didn't like know what Spotify was.
Mhm.
It might not have existed, and TikTok I only just learned about a couple years ago. Like, and that is the real reason that that song went gold is like
Right.
from that shit that I just don't even I can't even understand it. Like I'm just like,
Mhm.
is it from people listening to this? Like I just don't even really understand how the numbers work. So I think it's awesome. It's like changed my life, but it's and the way that my band functions and stuff. But it's not it doesn't make sense to me.
Hmm.
But I'm
That's
happy
fair.
about it. I feel
Right.
like it's like I
Do you
proved
remember the Bandcamp days?
of
Like,
course.
can you tell us about that? Like, just uploading your songs to Bandcamp and how that felt. And
That felt like as much as it feels like now, that felt like I'm putting out music. This is a real release. Like Bandcamp made it feel like it was a real thing that was like going into the world. But it's funny because at the time it's like all I could do is like hope that my couple friends like listened to it, or the very small community of like, because we played in New York so much, it was like we had these kind of regular crowds and stuff. But it was more like I was in community with everybody that listened to my music. And now it's the reach is beyond like my imagination. So it's just kind of it's the same feeling. It's like I still only like can tell that it's been heard if someone says to me like I heard, like if my friend texts me and is like congrats on the song coming out today, like that feels makes it feel way more like it happened. um, my
Right.
friend Emily Asina, who's an amazing uh, DIY pop musician, and she says something that I think about it every time I put out music, which is like she said it's like shitting into the void.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Wow.
You don't. Well, and kind of on that same, going off of that same thing is because of TikTok and social media. You can have, intimate indie songs from 10 years ago all of a sudden get 100 million plays. And also something off of this
Love
new
You
album.
So.
Huh?
King Khan and the BBQ Show, Love You So.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
That
yeah.
was, remember that song?
uh,
Right.
And
Yeah,
now it
yeah.
got huge on TikTok. This is a band that like didn't even exist anymore. I loved that album in like 2009 or whatever, like when it came out. Crazy.
Right. Right, right, right. And I even saw like that the DJ the I love DJ Shadow, and that remix he did with Mos Def from like 2002 is like has like a 200 million. And that's
I
the
love it.
interesting thing about it, Greta, is that you have this you're an indie kid and all this stuff, but because of the way the world is now, one of these 17 tracks, if someone posts it and it syncs up to the right thing, like you could have another, you know, hits or whatever. Yeah, we both had air quotes, simultaneous air quotes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could
I
You
think
know
it
hope.
what?
just gives the power back to the people and the yet definitely the younger kind of the younger peoples that are on using these apps and using, you know what I mean? It kind of gives them
Yeah,
the power to discover new things and decide what they like rather than just relying on radio to discover music that's been pushed pretty much and force fed down everyone's throat, you know?
totally. I do think it's scary too. And I think it's not good that people are probably making music in a different way, trying to get a soundbite instead of a song.
Yeah.
I think there are probably sneaky, scary, like industry things going on with TikTok, like
Mhm.
obviously that are like pushing stuff, like
Pushing certain
whatever,
things.
just that the major labels
Of
probably
course.
have, the
Of course.
ability to push a song on there way more than your average artist. But like it has totally changed releasing music. Like even just thinking about putting out music even a few years ago for me, like putting out our record in 2019. I don't remember ever until 2022 when we put out our last record. I had to figure out the timestamps for TikTok. Like that was part of the DSP, preparations, was like pick out 30-second to 1 minute timestamps to deliver to TikTok. And I was like, what? I have to guess what's going to be the most like memeable, danceable. I don't know. Like, and you can't think about music that way. It's like, it's just, yeah, it's a mind fuck.
I do think, and I've kind of gone in this field before, is I do think that the last year or so it's gone in more of a qualitative direction over a quantitative analytical direction. And I think that one reflection of that is the pop songs have gotten a little bit longer. You don't have these like two minute 15-second long songs that are like 70% hook. You have songs, and I call it the Chapel Roan effect, where you have Pink Pony Club's almost 4.5 minutes long. It has two guitar solos and a bridge. And so I think that we're entering an era where if you're just like coming up with a 20-second hook for TikTok, maybe you'll have it, but I think that people are craving more full, traditional pop songs. That's my
Yeah.
that's
I
my
mean,
spiel. Maybe I'm full of it.
totally. I think that Chapel Rowan is one of the only pop artists I could think of, like, that has a whole record that like I listened to the whole record. It's really good. It's a cohesive, piece of art. I think a lot of, as opposed to, I don't know, I think I have to kind of reevaluate my own like feelings about this, but I always think like if I hear the expression like debut album, I'm like,
Mhm.
you mean someone's first album? Like
Yeah, right now.
like why should I have heard of you if it's your first album? But people are putting
Right.
out so many singles and EPs first. Like of course
Mhm.
And they're
the
cheating.
album like signifies like some industry thing that like I you have must have some kind of like backing that like I'm like I put out like 50 albums before I got a record deal. Like that's to me, it's like, yeah, your debut album is like your 50th album or whatever.
Yeah. I
Yes.
and I've seen labels really cheat this lately,
Totally.
and they'll put out something. I'm not going to name names, but there was a recent release that came across my email, and it was labeled an EP, but it had 10 tracks. I'm sorry, if you have 10 tracks, you cannot
What?
call something an EP. I also have seen where the artist has released something independently or by themselves a few years before, and they're acting like that's not the debut. They're acting like
Totally.
that doesn't, and it's still on Spotify. Like the album is still on Spotify, but they're like, so yeah, it's a lot of,
The
and
Wild
part of it is,
West.
yeah, and it's wanting to make the product appear to be fresher than it really is. I guess I don't know. It's
Totally. It's
yeah
just a marketing technique, but it's like I cringe a little bit at like that phrasing because I'm just kind of like, what? I don't know.
yeah.
That
You've been
debut.
out for 9 years.
If you've
Yeah.
been working on being a musician, like, and I listened to your guys' episode with Chapel Rowan, and I loved that she said this thing about like, she said that thing about like, oh, now I'm like a real musician because I have an album, but also like I was a real musician. I made all this other stuff first, and it's like, yeah, debut album just rubs me the wrong way. It makes it seem like we're introducing this artist, like,
Mm,
and now they're going to be successful, and it's like, no, artistry is like a lifelong, like you're
Yeah.
always, every album's a debut. It's a debut of like who you are right now and what
Mhm.
you're making. I think just marketing in general probably rubs me the wrong way
we're
of
all
art.
it also yeah sure. Well, that's a very New York indie thing for you to say. Uh, but I think that the reason you're talking about all these singles and EPs is that 30 years ago, before we had this 24/7 social media thing, you could drop an album, kind of disappear for a while, kind of like do a tour, go on vacation, record some stuff, and no one cared, and then you're like back 2 years later with an album. Now you have to kind of like have this intermediate material. You have to do TikToks and like proof of life Instagrams where your fans are like, and
Um,
it's
I
just
see
you
all the
like, and
captions
it's
with
like a yeah, and just like a picture of you at the beach with your thumb up, or like like or like sitting drinking a beer or something, and you like post that, and people are like, oh, you're alive, like
Yeah,
um
proof of life is such a funny way to put it, and it's so true. And it's also like that musicians now have to be influencers and have to be like hot and all this stuff. It's like, remember when you didn't have to see them? You didn't When I was a kid, I didn't know what my favorite bands looked like. Like
Wow.
that's like the worst thing is like having a band, like having to take picture, like having to get a press photo every time that we put out a record, and the label's like, all right, you got to get a new press photo. We're all like, no, we don't want to be on
I feel like New York City culture too, like the whole, like for as long as I could remember, the cool thing was just like don't tell the address. Like I remember I got like slaughtered for like like putting the address on IG of like where like this band
oh
was
yeah.
playing, and they were like, you told the address, like you told everyone where that, and I was like, oh my god, like that was the cool, like that was being that's what like was, I don't know, I hate the word cool, but like it was
gatekeeping.
not, yeah, like it was kind of like just, yeah, exactly what you said.
But it
You
is,
know,
you know what? It's
acting so safe all
I
the
don't
time.
like want to promote gatekeeping, but like that is what kept DIY alive. Like that's why those
Wow.
venues.
Well, there's a practical reason you don't put the
Yeah,
address, so
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, no, but it was kind of like keep it like for the community. Like this was for the community. This wasn't to show off on Instagram like how many people like pulled up. Like this was like for you, your friends, and your friends' friends to have a good time and not have the party get shut down. You
Yeah,
know, that's kind of what New York City culture like was like in the music kind of world, right? That's what it
totally.
felt like.
And it's both good and bad. Like
Yeah.
I think it's good that people can access, niche community music
Mhm.
now. Like that's great. But yeah, it definitely makes it harder to have an event that doesn't get shut down. It means that you have to like start at the level where you're playing a legit venue, and that's like what's changed.
Yeah.
And that's what I think there was the sweet spot, like you were talking about in 14, 15, where you had these venues like Alphaville and Cake Shop and Palisades. Remember Palisades?
Yeah.
Um, because they were like legit. They had legit sound systems.
Mhm.
They had sound guys.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
uh, but they but they also were like not polished. They didn't have paint on
Bringing
everything,
your
and
own
so it
or
was like
logo,
this perfect, yeah, our logo, yeah, and
you know?
so it was kind of like this perfect middle ground, and it's almost like that wasn't sustainable because it's not commercial enough the way some of the venues
Yeah,
now
but that
are.
also influenced like the way music was made. Like it wasn't to show off like this is like my song for like a major label to sign me. This was like the music was like not for that. It wasn't made for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like we used to just always be playing stuff that was unreleased. Like it was to like figure out how it's gonna go.
Hmm. All right, enough old folks shaking our hand.
When I was a kid,
Um,
I had to
yeah,
walk
when
to
I was a
school with
kid,
no
yeah.
snowshoes.
Mm.
So
Um, I know, weren't you? You were homeschooled at least part of the way, weren't you?
Yeah, just like 10th grade on.
10th grade on. Oh, okay, yeah, yeah. So you didn't have you had actual real socialization before then. So
I'd like to
yeah,
think so.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Um,
you
It
can get
doesn't
one
work
now,
out
in
though.
New York City. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Demi went to LaGuardia, so she has like
Oh,
a
cool.
very different experience. Yeah,
What was for music?
Yeah, yeah. I was like like studying opera there.
So cool. Wow.
So random, right?
You still sing opera?
Yeah, I play it like I went from that to like I started like this punk band. Like I wouldn't even say punk. It's more just like a lot of distortedness going on.
Wow.
yeah. I say that I think Demi likes sort of a post punk kind of sound.
Yeah.
Is what? Yeah, yeah.
I'm into
Uh,
like now I listen to like I don't know like Ecstasy or like Max Fry. Like you ever heard of those? Like that like drum machine thing that you were talking about?
Sure.
Are you into that? Like what are you listening to right now?
Um, what am I listening to right now? I feel like I really like stuff that's kind of like uh I guess like I'm really bad at genre. I want to say like folky stuff or like folky rock stuff. Like my favorite band right now is this Australian band Good Morning. They're amazing.
they'll appreciate the cosign. We'll
Yeah.
post this. We'll be like, yeah.
Yeah, no, they're the best. But but yeah, I guess singer-songwritery stuff. But
Like,
if you like post-punk, I feel like I mean, two of my bandmates were in kind of I want to say post-punky bands like Warehouse and Palm, which are like kind of that more of that genre, I guess.
were you excited when blogs and magazines wrote about you guys? Was that like something you looked out for because that was such a big deal? Sort of in the aquarium drunkard type era.
Yeah, the big one, like the first time we got a show written up on Brooklyn Vegan, I was like, we made it. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yeah,
And it's like you made it to hell where there's now anonymous commenters like that are complaining about your nail
yeah.
polish or whatever. Like it's just like bully town. But
Bully
yeah,
town.
that felt really cool. Just to be like, yeah, it's just I mean, it's I think everybody making art somewhat like you want acknowledgement that you like are doing it, and I think we were working so hard, like we were like grinding, like just practicing and playing shows and like constantly playing shows and booking our own tours and just like doing the most like on the ground kind of marketing possible. Just like I was just trying to play as many shows as possible because that's like what I wanted to be doing, and that's like what my roots of music community were in, and so it felt really cool to just be acknowledged like you're a real band playing a real show.
Mhm. Yeah.
It was at Glasslands. I remember like sitting at like on Kent Avenue, like across the street from Glasslands, like looking at like someone like I didn't have a smartphone, and somebody was like, "Look, you're on Brooklyn Vegan," and like showed it to me. um,
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, different.
Um, yeah. We always love. We interviewed Gigi Perez, and she told the story about how she got uh, picked to open for Coldplay in Florida, and they had to fly the whole band down there and stuff like that. What's the biggest gig, since you are a traditionally more indie, intimate person? What's You guys have played festivals before. What's like the biggest gig, and is there like a point where you feel uncomfortable in terms of the size?
Yeah, I think the biggest gig was like we opened for Bell and Sebastian. It was like us and then Perfume Genius and then Bell and Sebastian. So we played at like 4:45 p.m. At Forest Hill Stadium, which was like amazing because I'm a huge Bell and Sebastian fan too, and it was just like really really cool. But it was, people were trickling in kind of. It was like doors were at 5 and we were like
Yeah.
playing with doors open kind of thing. But it was amazing. I really like playing festivals. Like we played, I mean, it depends on the festival, but like we played Kilby, the Kilby Court Festival. I forget, I guess it's called Kilby Festival last year or 2 years ago, and it was like Pavement and the Yeah Yeah Yeahs and the Strokes headlining,
I love.
and I've never felt like so cool on stage.
Mm.
Like I feel like a guitar god. Like every time I play like anything on guitar, they're like, the crowd goes wild. Like at festivals, it's just a different, like especially festivals with like a really like awesome kind of like cohesive like
Mhm.
audience where it's like they just are so psyched that you're
Right.
there. Um,
Right.
that felt
Yeah,
awesome.
that would be hard to play gigs on like those weird festivals where where it's clear they just like grabbed the most famous people they could grab, So yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
I've had some really bad festival performances too, because you kind of don't get to sound check a lot of the time, especially at
oh
our
yeah.
level. Unless you're the headliner, you like don't sound check. And I'm kind of a sound check queen. I
So,
need that.
me a t-shirt, sound check queen, yeah. Uh, well, speaking of touring and shows, are you touring off of this album?
We are touring all fall with it. So we have like a couple shows this summer, but we're basically going out in September. We're going to do like a huge 2 legs in the US, like West Coast, East Coast, and some of the stuff in the middle, and then a UK, Europe quick jaunt. So like September through November we'll be on tour. Um, and yeah, we're playing like we're playing a cool festival in Winnipeg this summer, and we're gonna do like a secret New York show the weekend that the album comes
Don't tell
out.
the address. No, I'm kidding.
No, it's not like, I just mean when I say secret, it's like we haven't announced it yet, but it's gonna be like a free daytime show.
That's
Probably the only show where we like play the whole album all the way through, and the rest will be like more of our kind of oldies plus new stuff kind of set that I.
Good to have an expansive catalog, so you're not playing the same 6 songs. I bet you remember the old days when you only had 7 or 8 songs, and like trying to get together a 30-minute set when you're first starting out that's a whole different thing.
Dude, I the first
Mm.
show I played, I didn't know you needed a set list. I
wow.
spent like most of the show being like, "So, what should I play now?" Just
Yeah,
talking.
you're
Yeah,
like pulling out your Bandcamp on your phone,
yeah,
like,
exactly.
what's the next song? Okay, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
All right,
it's
well,
hard.
we
My
got
songs
to
are really short, so I think putting
yeah,
together
that
a
helps.
power
That
set is
helps.
always, it's like 30 songs for us.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I do. That's why I said like the 17 tracks. Like I do like it's like a Sufjan Stevens album with like 22 songs. I do want to before we let you go. I do want to get a quick origin in terms of Fool. Is it about a real person or is it a fictional song?
It's about a feeling. I mean, I remember writing it like after my friend slept through a breakfast plan. Like I went to meet up with my friend for breakfast and like she didn't show up. And I was like, you make me feel like a fool waiting for you. But I just kind of thought it was like a cool, like old timey kind of song, like an old like girl group kind of song lyric. And um, it's kind of one of those songs where it's like pieced together like lyrically. It's got like kind of an old poem like from high school that I incorporated into it, and some really weird esoteric kind of lyrics in there. Um, but yeah, it's not like about one person
Right,
necessarily.
and I also
There's
thought it was
no
interesting.
thing that I think about when I'm playing it, like, ooh, this is about that makes me so
Yeah,
mad. It's not like
well, and
that.
that's the kind of deal where everyone in the audience kind of makes their own fiction about who it's about. But I think it's interesting that it's about like someone waiting for someone to show up for lunch or whatever versus like waiting for a partner or a significant other to make a move or something. Like yeah, it's not nearly as grand as it sounds. So that's
Totally,
cool.
just a little moment. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And sonically, was it always that kind of deal where it is where the drums kind of come in and out and it like kind of stops and you know what I'm saying? Was the structure always like that or did you kind of make it that way?
Yeah, I
That was a
mean, it's
dumb
kind
way
of
to
like,
say it, but you know what I'm saying?
no, it's a good question. It's one of those songs that like you know, because it's from that era where I was touring before, like I was touring a lot with those songs before the album came out. So it probably did go through some changes, and especially like I had a four-piece band, but like my one bandmate Gabby, who's like still my best friend, but she like was in a lot of bands, so she would sometimes like not be able to do a tour or a show. So I was constantly switching vocally between singing the melody and sometimes singing the melody and the harmony, like switching on the chorus because if she wasn't there. So I kind of like, and now when we play it, this is just the way that it is now permanently, is like I sing melody harmony on the whole chorus, and like my bandmate then, who's now like doing Gabby's part, is singing harmony melody, like because it's just the way that the song like developed with having a bandmate that was in and out. So definitely like went through some changes like that, but yeah, I think it was always kind of the same structurally, like um with the rest of the instrumentation. Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us on the show, Greta. The new album is out. I remember you used to be Frankie Combos. Are you still Frankie Combos?
On
Okay. Okay.
Instagram, yeah.
Okay. Love it. Love that you never got rid of the goofy name. Yeah.
Totally make it really hard to succeed.
All right, Greta. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much for having me. Nice to meet you guys.